Hi, this is Amanda from Rise and Procrastinate for Lavinia World. Today we're going to be playing with Ranger Perfect Pearls on our gel press. We'll be making the beautiful card that you see here. So I'm going to start with a stencil, sort of, that I cut from a Pink Fresh Studio die, and I just cut it out of regular cardstock. And I placed it face down on my gel press. And then I'm going to be using the Ranger Perfect Pearls in the color Forever Red. And I started off with a Q-tip and just dabbing it into the spaces that I wanted the Forever Red. But I was getting way too much powder here. So I grabbed a small brush, and this is actually a brush that I received with a package of Perfect Pearls. I got like a 3-pack of Perfect Pearls that you can get. It's not the Perfect Pearls that you see on the screen, but it's an old pack that I've had forever. So, but you don't have to use a special brush for Perfect Pearls. You can just use any small brush. It doesn't matter. And then I decided that it would be easier if I just put some Perfect Pearls in the lid, because I'm known to make a mess, and I just knew that I was going to knock over my whole jar of Perfect Pearls. So anyway, I'm just going to be working through putting them in the leaves of the poinsettias, and as you can see, I skipped ahead here because this is very, very repetitive. So the next color is Festival Green. I believe that's what it said. Yes, Festival Green. And I'm just going to put those in the green leaves of the poinsettias, because I believe that poinsettias are all leaves and not petals and leaves. Anyway, I'm sure somebody will know that. But so I'm just going to fill in the rest of the poinsettia leaves here with the green on the outside, and I just had a cat hair or something on the edge there. And I'm just going to, anyway, just going to fill in the rest of the green here. And then we will move on to, I believe, the gold centers next. But I did want to just show you a little bit of each color here and how they look. All right, so then we've got the Perfect Pearls in the Perfect Gold color, and I'm just going to fill in the gold centers. Again, and I did clean off my brush in between each. I just wiped it on a dry towel. It's not that hard to clean off. That way I don't contaminate the colors. And then the next color here is turquoise. And this one is not nearly as opaque as the rest of them. I mean, I guess if I put them on thinner, it would have been less opaque, but I did put a pretty heavy coat of each one. And even doing this one as heavy as I could, it was still a very light color. But anyway, so I did put it on fairly thick, but this one was still really, really light. So now I'm going to go in with some FolkArt acrylic paint here, and this is a metallic pure gold. And instead of just putting it directly on the gel press, I thought I would smear it on my mat here and roll it on, so I'd get not big blobs of color. But that really wasn't working that great, so I ended up doing big blobs on my gel press. You'll see here in a second. And I kind of wish that I wouldn't have done this. I kind of wish that I would have filled in the rest of the areas with that perfect gold Perfect Pearls. But either way, it still turned out nice in the end. But I kind of wish that I wouldn't have done this, because where that turquoise color was, that was not very opaque, it turned out in certain ways that you turn it, you can see the turquoise, and in certain ways you see this metallic gold paint. And I guess it's kind of a cool effect, but it really wasn't what I was looking for. Either way, the card turned out gorgeous, and I'm happy with it either way. It just wasn't exactly the look I was going for. Like I said, it still turned out cool though. So I did put on the gold, and I did a very light, even though it doesn't look like I did very light, it is kind of a light coat here. And then I'm going to pull off my stencil, my paper stencil here. And then you want to let this layer dry. Let it dry completely. And then I'm going to take this white acrylic paint, and this happens to be a heavy body. It doesn't need to be a heavy body acrylic paint, but mine happens to be. And then I'm going to do a very light coat of this, and you do want this to be a very light coat. So as you can see here, this is kind of heavy, but I'm going to brayer some of it off. You want to be able to see your design through the paint. So as you can see the poinsettias, and I'm brayering a little bit more of it off. And so I can see my design. And before it dries, that's when you want to pull the print. So you don't want to let this one dry like I did with the gold. And we're just going to rub this really, really good. Make sure you rub it really well. And I'm going to turn my plate here so I can get my hands on it better. And then we're just going to rub, 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 and make sure that we pull this, all this off. Because you want to make sure that you get that paper adhered really well. It's because this white paint's going to be kind of like the glue. I'm going to check the corner here. And I decided I'd give it another good rub. And then we will pull the print here in a second. All right. So that green that you see on there, that actually stained my plate, which is fine. And some people think it's okay to leave their plates messy and whatnot, and that's fine if they want to do that. I was kind of heartbroken when I saw that. So you can clean that off with baby oil. I didn't happen to have baby oil, so I actually used WD-40, which is not what the manufacturer recommends. They recommend baby oil. But mine cleaned up with WD-40 and it did not hurt my plate. But if you have baby oil, that is what I would recommend because that is what the manufacturer recommends to clean your plates with. So then I came in with Distress ink in Vintage Photo just to kind of make this a little bit more vintagey looking. And I thought that that looked really nice. So I'm just going to ink blend that around the edges here real quick. And then I'm going to heat emboss my sentiment on here. And I am just putting on some powder. My brush on my powder tool has broken off. So I have to use a paintbrush until I decide how I'm going to fix this. And I'm coming in with the Lavinia Stamp Believe. I thought that was a nice bold sentiment to go with these bold floral images. I'm going to stamp this in VersaFine Clair Nocturne because it is a pigment ink. Even though it is a somewhat fast drying pigment ink, you can still heat emboss over it. And if anybody can guess what I'm going to do next, I'm sure you can because it is what I've been doing almost all Christmas season. I'm going to come in with Ranger Holographic Embossing Powder and throw that on top of it and heat emboss it because I love the sparkle of this embossing powder. I am addicted to it and it is my favorite embossing powder for the Christmas season. I heat set that off screen. And then I decided that I was going to come in with the snowflakes from Lavinia Stamps. And there are 3 stamps in this set, but one of the stamps has 3 snowflakes on the one stamp. And I'm going to use the Brilliance Moonlight white pigment archival ink and just stamp that over top. Now I did have to stamp each one of these twice to make it visible, even though they still are fairly, they kind of fall back. They're not real bright in your face, but I thought that they were still a nice touch. I'm only going to show you a couple of these. I did stamp them in both the bottom, well, I stamped them kind of all over on the gold parts. So I'm just going to show you a couple of these because it is awfully repetitive. And then I took my card panel and I'm going to mount it on a piece of red pearlescent cardstock. This is by Paper Accents and it's called Pearlized Garnet. And I just left that with a 1/8 of an inch border all the way around my 4 by 5 1/4 inch panel here. And then we're just going to mount that on our card base, which is a Nina Classic Crest Solar White 110 pound cardstock panel, or card base. And so that is going to finish up the card for today. I hope that you enjoyed this technique with the perfect pearls and learned something new. I think this card turned out beautiful. When I show it up to the camera here and shine it in the light, you'll be able to see how that turquoise and gold kind of color shift there. As always, the products are listed and linked in the description box below. Don't forget that you can sign up for our Facebook group, the Anything Lavinia Facebook group, and my social media links are in the description box below. If you would love to follow me, that would be great. As always, have a great day.